Hello, magical people of the internet. I am Jen, and welcome to my vlog, I Never Thought I Would, where we talk about doing things that we never thought we would do and the unexpected places that they can lead us to. I have an incredible guest today. He is a #1 best-selling author, an inspirational speaker, and a heart-centered coach, my very good friend, Barry Selby. Hi, Barry. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Jen. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to a fun conversation.
I know. I'm so excited to get the opportunity to chat with you. You are a champion of the divine feminine, and you help strong and successful women find balance in love, life, and business.
Indeed.
Yes, you do. And this is quite the unique career path. I am sure in order to get here, you have done many, many things that you never thought you would do. Would you mind sharing one of those things with us today and letting us know where it led you?
Boy, that's the thing, is picking just one out of the haystack of opportunities to talk about. In simple terms, I think the best way to start this is saying that I never thought I'd be a passionate champion for the divine feminine, first of all, because I had no clue what that was 15, 16 years ago. I've been on this personal growth journey for many, many years, so I know a lot of stuff. And I've changed a lot of my own journey. But I found myself in a place where I was having the same experience in a relationship. And after 3 relationships where the same thing happened, I had the clue it was me, not them. The slow learner in me realized that's not about them now, it's about me. But what I never thought I would do was really discover what that was, because I just thought I had to put up with it. Anyway, I'd done all this work. I had a master's degree in spiritual psychology. I've got this spiritual counseling, teaching, everything I do. But I kept messing up relationships, and I didn't think I could do anything different. Literally, I thought it was just choose somebody else, keep choosing, and maybe I'll find somebody that fits. But again, after 3 times, I would say a little voice in the back of my head said, time to change, do something different. Once I did that, something magical happened. I actually, up to that point, this is back in 2006, 2007, I didn't have great comfort talking to beautiful women. That was one of the things I was definitely not good at. I felt self-conscious, I'd be shy, I would trip over myself, and I'd just avoid talking to them.
I think you're the only man who's ever had this problem, Gary. That's so sweet.
Yeah, I think I am. Yeah, I know. It's just me, nobody else.
I've never heard of any other human being intimidated to talk to the opposite sex.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, again, I never thought I could. But I also got clear that at this point, thankfully, in my life, I've been tuning into an inner frequency where I'd hear like more messages from inside than I used to. That's, again, one of the benefits of the work. And I was walking out of a building, and this beautiful woman was walking in who was absolutely stunning. But what happened was she was, to my mind, glowing. Like she was a good-looking woman. I mean, she is a good-looking woman. She's still around. But she was blonde, blue-eyed, had a white dress on. But it was almost like neon sign over the head saying, "Talk to this woman." And so I knew I could not do this. I had to talk to this woman. And so gathering up my courage, or I should say, letting go of my fear, flipping that one around, I just went up to her and said, I don't know who you are, but I need to talk to you about something, and I'm not sure what it is. So where have you been? That was kind of what I said. She burst out laughing, of course, because it was so strange. And we started talking. And that conversation led me to a path that I've been on ever since, which is exploring and understanding the masculine, feminine conversation and polarity. And up to that point, I had no clue it even existed. So my true journey was, up to that point, preparing me for what was next. That's one of the benefits of this thinking about moving beyond something, is to realize that everything came before was a preparation. And because this woman I met, she led me to a bunch of teachers and trainings that I've now been passionately following for the last 13, 14 years. That was the game changer. That's what led me to all the work I'm doing now and all the things I'm up to in my life, because I realized the importance of that more than anything I've done before this. And I've had at least 6 careers before this point. It wasn't like I could change paths. Let me say it this way. I couldn't not do this. And it was really clear that I had to line up to what this work was about. So this one conversation changed everything in my life.
And it was like your calling, so to speak.
That would be the best way of putting it. I mean, we talk about purpose, work, and everything else, and there's a lot of different teachings about what your purpose should be. But I know one of the things I learned from this journey that I've been on ever since is, for a masculine man, not a macho man, but a masculine man, that one of the core values for a masculine man to have a healthy relationship is, before that, he has to know why he's here. what that calling is, what that purpose is. Because if we don't do that, we'll tend to put that on our partner, which is not the focus we should be doing.
So can you elaborate a little bit on the type of teachings that you started studying and the type of work you started doing to help yourself change or evolve into the person that you've become?
Absolutely. I'll preface this by saying that coming from England and growing up in the culture I grew up in, there wasn't an understanding of what masculinity was. There was just strong man, like macho man, basically, as I label it now, and the quiet woman, or the meek housewife. My parents exemplified that.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have an understanding that there was a thing called masculinity or femininity. And it sounds strange to say it, but I didn't know what that was back in 2007. So the first teaching, training, and organization I got involved with is a company called Warrior Sage out of Vancouver in Canada. The training Warrior Sage was run by Satyana Suzanne Raja, and their work was the game changer for me. That's what started the whole process. And what happened was, just to give you a quick synopsis of a weekend training, is we would basically, and come from a Jewish background, this is very relevant, we would sit in the room with the men on one side, women on the other, which is the way I grew up in church, in synagogue, in temple. But we were doing it, right. But the thing about it is that we were doing that to help separate the energetics of masculine and feminine. And what we would do during the whole weekend is we would spend time having dialogue, question, answer, talking like that. Then we'd break into separate rooms where the men would go to one room, women go to another room, and deepen our innate nature by various practices. So by the end of the weekend, when we came together the final time, instead of just sitting down in the room, we were facing each other along the hall, along the length of the hotel room, women on one side, men on the other, about 50 of each. And that was the moment when things changed for me, because when I looked across the room and saw these women lined up in their feminine magnificence, and that's how I can describe it. We were in a masculine magnificence, opposite that. But I just felt myself internally just falling to my knees in worship, because I'd never felt or seen or experienced what femininity was in clarity. Because saying 50 women owning that was a message I couldn't ignore. It's like I felt it. And so that's what dedicated my life from that point forward to this work. And I've gone on to work with, I studied with David Data, we studied with Alison Armstrong. I've actually went on summits with her and studied with her directly. Obviously, John Gray is a master of the Mars and Venus conversation. He's a master of this work too. And ever since, and I really clearly got that this work needs to be out more visibly. So I became a messenger of that work as well in my own work.
That is so cool. And it's really amazing because so many of us keep making the same decisions over and over again in our lives. We feel like we don't know how to do it differently, but we also don't take the time to find a new way. Yes. And we just kind of accept that, well, this is who I am. This is what my life is going to be. And it's so inspiring to hear you talk about how you kind of realize, I'm repeating this pattern in my relationships, but I want a better relationship. I don't just want to settle for, this is just who I am, and I'll just kind of go through the dating process until someone fits my mold. You were willing to remold yourself to change our lives. We have to go through some sort of transformation of remolding, whether it's our physical body or whether it's our business model or our mindset. So that's really fascinating, Barry.
It's pivotal. Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for the reflection.
And this has opened up doors that you never thought you would walk through in terms
Indeed.
of speaking and coaching and being a champion of the divine feminine. So we'll touch on each one of those, but
yes,
the term champion of the divine feminine is so unique. I'm dying to know, and I'm sure everybody else listening is dying to know, what is that? What does that mean?
So part of that, being a champion of that, is to respect the feminine wherever I meet that. And I help in my work. I mean, women own their femininity, which I know sounds strange coming from a guy. But the recognition is that most of the women I've worked with and many of the women I dated were occupying the masculine space more than the feminine space because they didn't know different. So part of my work in honoring and serving the feminine is helping women remember they own it, that they embody it, that they have that in themselves and can really live that way in their lives. That's kind of the biggest piece. Most of the times I see women not being supported in their feminine. I'll step in to say, hang on a second. Because part of the work I do in being a man in my masculine as much as I can be is to reflect back to women that it's okay to be in their feminine. Mm-hmm. So a lot of it is the way I am in the world. And it is what drives me because I've dated more than enough macho women. So I know what it's like to be in the paradigm of a relationship where it doesn't work because we're doing this all the time. by encouraging women to be in their feminine, I feel, one, that my life gets a lot better, but secondly, and also the women's lives get better, but secondly, the world will be changed, because I have a secret mission, which is I would love to end the patriarchy that's in our culture and have the feminine matriarchy energy start to take more hold, at least be equal to, if not better than, because our culture and our world ain't going to be around forever if we don't bring in the feminine to lead.
Yeah. Oh, love it. Love what you're saying to me. These words are so wonderful right now. I want to go back a few steps, because what we were talking about in terms of macho women, and I just want to like elaborate on it a little bit, because I think I know what you're talking about. So many women are working, are career oriented today. I understand that when we're working, when we're at work, everybody has to embody masculine energy in a way, because that's the doer energy, that's the achieving energy, that's the I need to, get this report finished, I need to manage my team, I need to make sure that we hit our targets. And because as women, we are occupying more of that space in larger numbers, it's very hard to understand that when we leave the office, we can shut that off and we can reclaim the feminine energy, which is more of the receiving energy, so to speak.
Yes, that's a good way of putting it.
Okay, good. So I've got it right. Well, because I want to make sure I understand what you're talking about. And I also want anyone who's tuning in to kind of be able to follow the conversation if we don't necessarily know the definitions of divine masculine, divine feminine.
Absolutely. So a couple of ways I'll explain just as metaphors to explain what I mean by masculine and feminine, because what I've studied and learned. One of the things, and I'll come back to the working thing, because that's a key part of this. One way to describe the masculine and feminine is that the masculine energy is like a ship on the ocean, a big, massive like tanker that carries all these containers. It takes like 3 miles to turn. That's the masculine, because we're not very good at turning and changing directions. The feminine is the ocean it sits on. Women forget that femininity is so much more massive, because feminine is nature. The world, the energy we live in is feminine. Another analogy to explain as well is imagine that if you have a big river running down the side of the hill, and it's a big, massive river wending its way down, the feminine is the water of the river, the flow. The masculine is the structure of the banks containing it, not controlling it, but containing it, because the river is strong enough, especially when it rains, to actually overflow and destroy the banks. The feminine energy is not weaker than the masculine energy by any stretch of the imagination. So that's one thing. In the career conversation, as I've said many times in interviews I've been on, is the trouble is that we have a business world that's created by men for men that women have been trying to fit in ever since. So since the sexual revolution in the 60s. There's a lot of women to remember, more than anything else, that when they leave work, they don't carry it with them. It's the first step. And a lot of the stuff I help my clients with is really how to take care of themselves and nurture the feminine energy within them when they get home. So something as simple as bubble bars, or doing a lot of like calling up your girlfriends and just to vent and express everything out, helps you reconnect back to your feminine. Doing things like going shopping. For some women, shopping is a meditative practice.
Whether I spend a dime or not, but just, going and, looking at aesthetically pleasing things and having like the active imagination of like, ooh, what I could be doing if I was wearing something like this, like some wonderful experience I could have in that dress.
That's the feminine at play. Exactly.
Yeah.
Because it's that embracing, and the wonderment energy is a very feminine gift. And so like I know there's a meme that's around about women and men going to the mall, a little map of the mall. And when a man goes to the mall, it's like into the store and back out, done. When women go to the mall, it's like every single thing. Oh, this. It's like a ping pong match, bouncing around, because it's the understanding that the feminine has this gift of embracing everything and exploring and trying everything on energetically. That's the wonder of the feminine.
And we also have the ability for both sides of our brain to talk to each other and communicate, whereas the male brain, unless it's a left-handed man, most men are only able to use one side of their brain at a time. So it's actually like a design difference in how we are created. There's a reason men go to the mall. They go for the one thing that they came for, and then they leave, because that mission is on one side of the brain, and then
Yep.
the exploratory, like, let's go see what's in this store and let's go see what's over here, that's the other part of the brain that's like more playful and creative,
And
isn't having
sensory.
a conversation
Yes.
with the mission side of the brain.
There's a minister, preacher, what the title is, named Mark Gungor, Gungor. He has a series on YouTube from years ago now. He did a workshop at his church called The Tale of Two Brains.
Mm-hmm.
And he has this talk, and I've watched it a few times. It's a long, several hours, but there's one clip I love particularly. So he has on stage where he's standing in front of on the dais in front of his audience, two like 3-foot high pillars. And on top of each one is a little phrenology skull, those little porcelain heads.
Mm-hmm.
And one's got makeup on it, and one's got lipstick and got a scarf around it. The other one's plain. One's the male brain, one's the female brain. Tale of two brains. So he said in this talk, one thing that just stuck with me, I love it, is that when you go into look inside a man's brain, everything is compartmentalized. Every thought is discrete. Oh, you've seen it? Okay, yes. Well, let me say for the audience that have seen it.
Keep going.
Yes.
I love it.
So each man's thought is discrete in its own little box, like shoe boxes, only very small. And so you ask a man a question, he'll go and find that box, open the box, take it out, give it the answer, put it back in the box, close it away, and be done. Which is why men go straight into the store, get what they want, come out. Is single focus, target acquisition, business oriented. It's like the hunter mindset, basically. Whereas the feminine energy, her mind in the wiring, the way it's built, is everything's connected by one wire. So you want to find this one thing, you go through all the other things to get there, which is the story, the explanation, the understanding, the mystery, the embracing of everything around it. So when a man asks a woman a question, he won't get back the answer he thinks he's going to get. He's going to get back everything with it because the woman's wired differently than man. Yeah. So definitely for us, it's an interesting conversation. Now, being left-handed and coming from a very feminine upbringing in my own life, I do embrace both sides in my conversation. I can understand the feminine more. One of my gifts is being able to relate to women in the feminine without embracing it myself, because I really want to hold on to my masculine. That's the part I was missing in my own life. And by the way, just so women understand between macho and masculine, macho, the way I describe it, and there's a lot of men in the world doing this, are basically ego-driven from the neck up. The mindset is about mine, my goal, my win, and at the cost of everybody else. That's the underlying bottom line. The masculine-hearted man, heart intentionally, is a man who has a strong spine with about clarity, direction, and focus, so he knows why he's here. But he has an open heart with compassion. So truly, masculine man has developed that skill, and some men are developing it still. They're not there yet. But understanding what a masculine man in the world won't do things at the cost of other people intentionally. Now, it can be accidental, but not intentionally. Our job is to raise everybody. So the patriarchy we have in place right now is macho-driven, not masculine. So personally, I have an issue with the term toxic masculinity because I don't believe that goes together. When a man's in masculinity is no longer toxic, it's toxic machoism in my language. Yes. Because it's the conflict of the mind arguing.
And I agree, because I don't like the word toxic masculinity at all. I find it very offensive. Even as a woman, I find it offensive because the male brain and the female brain are constructed differently. They're wired differently. Yeah. They function differently. And trying to feminize the male brain or trying to feminize masculinity is not the answer. It's masculinity isn't toxic because it's not feminine.
Right.
Macho-ism or machismo is toxic because it's ill-intentioned.
Right.
And there's a big difference between a man's nature and an ill-intentioned man. And unfortunately, with roid rage of feminism that's going on right now, which is not about femininity,
thank you,
or masculinity, I feel like we're so driven in this feminist mission to take down the patriarchy that we're just lumping everything that's bad into the masculine.
We're missing the mark. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we're definitely missing the mark. And I understand anytime there's change, anytime there's evolution, sometimes there's some overcorrection.
You would say we're definitely, it's course correction is what we're going through.
Yeah.
It's an elevation through course correction.
Exactly. Okay, so you're also an inspirational speaker and a heart-centered coach. I have a feeling that those two kind of go together. So can you tell us a little bit about your speaking and your coaching?
In brief terms, keep this short because we're talking quite a bit in the previous topic. I've been in a spiritual community since '94 that I'm still in. You call it a church, but it's really new thought, new age, understanding, teaching. And I went through the teaching to become a spiritual practitioner, a licensed counselor through the church. And I was licensed in the end of 2000. And then September 11th happened in 2001.
Mm-hmm.
And I happened to be on pulpit the Sunday after that happened. That was my first exposure to speaking in front of more than 10 people. I spoke in front of 2,500 people in one sitting.
Wow.
And what I discovered in that moment, there's another things I never expected I would do. Because basically practitioners that would be at the beginning of every service that's the Guppies way of doing things. So they would basically be in the front, they'd read through the reading or the affirmations or opening prayer, whatever it was. And that Sunday was my turn on pulpit to do the opening affirmations and a purpose statement and a couple other things. Our building at the time, this is back in 2001, would hold about 1,300 people on a regular service. And we do 2 services. But that Sunday, because it was Sunday after September 11th, and I'm only giving the whole of the rest of the week we did because of what happened then, the place was packed double over. There were people sitting on the floors, standing against the walls on the stage. It was packed to the walls. In fact, when I went up to sit in my seat at that service, we sat in the front row, but there were people on the floor in front of me. It was that packed. So being on stage wasn't just a normal service, it was a double-sized service. And the thing I remember very vividly getting up on stage and then basically locking my hand on the lectern because I was so frigging, like this. But then I started doing what I was supposed to do. I had it in front of me. Thankfully, it was all written out. And I started reading to it. And as soon as I got people responding, because everyone knew what to do. I said, okay, I'm going to read the affirmations. Please stand up, follow me line by line. Such a simple thing. But that shift, because I was giving instructions they were following, I felt myself just relax. And what happened was when I was doing the affirmations, as simple as it was, I felt people's hearts open. And I've done this work for a long time in other places, but to do it with that big an audience where it's such a visceral experience of 200,000 people like relaxing and opening their hearts to me, and I'm just the guide. But I knew then that to be able to inspire people was worth every moment of my time. So in my coaching and in my speaking, any opportunity I have to lift people up, to let people know it's possibility versus anything else, is my gift, my service, and my calling.
What are some of the topics that you speak about? Is it all directed towards divine masculine and divine feminine?
I speak a lot about, to be honest, about how we take care of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Because the relationship is my arena's playing, but a lot of that is a relationship with ourselves. So yes, masculine and feminine is part of that because owning your true nature is a key part of that. But also, how do we deal with our baggage, our history, our learnings, our upbringings? How do we deal with our future partners? How do we deal with our own stuff when things get in the way and we don't get what we want? How do we get where we want to go? All these sort of questions lead me back to how do you treat yourself when you look in the mirror? So a large part of my talks and my coaching is really about the journey to self-ownership in a very authentic, heartfelt, and inspired way. As I've been on this journey for a long time and have a master's degree and everything else, I have a pretty big toolbox of tools to help you when you're dealing with stuff, whatever that stuff is in your life. So yes, it's a wide array.
Which takes us to your book. You are #1 best-selling author, 50 Ways to Love Your Lover. Tell us a little bit about this book, because I'm assuming that in order to be a better lover and to have the capacity for a relationship, we have to have gotten ourselves to a place where we've done the work and we've taken care of ourselves.
That's one of the secrets. Not so secret now. But the book is basically 50 principles for healthy relationships with yourself and other people. That's the simplest way I can put it in distilled forms. It's divided into sections, but it's really key principles. It's written for men and women, couples, singles, straight, gay, doesn't make a difference. There's something in the book for everybody because it's really principles to have a healthy relationship with yourself and other people, which all of us can learn from.
And it's just an extension of your teachings, from your speaking to your championing the divine feminine. So can you please tell us, where can we find your book? Where can we find you? What's the best way?
So my website is my name, barryselby.com, easy to find. And on there is all my offerings, my coaching. I have couple of online courses. I have a lot about self-love. There's a link to a series on codependency I talked about, which is a very interesting topic I talked with a friend of mine on. The videos are on my site. And also my book is on my site as well. So if you go to barryselby.com/book, or just go to my site and peruse, you'll find it there as well. The audio format's going to come out at some point. People keep asking me to do the audio version, but I haven't had time to do it. I should during the pandemic. But I definitely am happy to have people read my book and give me feedback on it and take some tips home and work with it.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. We'll have all the links below to make it easy for everyone to find you. And Barry, it's been such a lovely time chatting. I appreciate you taking the time. I'm so grateful for all the information you shared with us.
Well, Jen, I first want to say thank you very much for inviting me. I'm so glad we got to reconnect, and I'm so thankful to be able to share this. So thank you for giving me the space to share some ideas.
Thank you. And thank you all out there in the interweb. I hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you are enjoying the content. And I would like to challenge you to do something you never thought you would do. You never know where it will lead you. And please let us know what it is in the comments. Let us know what you did, where it led you. I would love to know and start a conversation. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.